Although free international trade allows countries to specialize, which in turn increases productivity, such specialization carries risks. After all, small countries often rely on one or two products for the bulk of their exports. If those products are raw materials, the supply is finite and can be used up. If they are foodstuffs, a natural disaster can wipe out a season's production overnight. Which one of the following most accurately expresses the conclusion of the argument as a whole? So, looking at the argument that we have here, the first sentence kind of introduces the idea that we're starting off with, although free trade allows countries to specialize. So we have this point that this premise, this fact that we're working with. It in turn increases productivity. So there we go. That's what comes from it. But such specialization, so the specialization that comes from free international trade, carries these risks. The rest of the argument, the following premises, are all examples of this risk. So we kind of point out a fact here that small countries do rely on one or two products for the bulk of their exports. But then here we go, are some risks. If they're raw materials, these exports, the supply is finite and can be used up. If they're foodstuffs, not sure what that is, a natural disaster can wipe out a season's production overnight. So it's talking about, hey, there's these specializations that can come from free international trade. And while they're great because they increase productivity, they carry risks. And they point out in the case of how this would affect small countries because they rely on these one or two products for the bulk of their exports. Here are two examples of risks that can come to them from specialization. So knowing that, let's go into the argument, the answer choices. So A, specialization within international trade comes with risks. That's pretty spot on, actually. Although free trade, international trade allows countries to specialize, which in turn increases productivity, such specialization carries risks, which is specific. Specialization within international trade comes with risks, which is exactly what we were talking about for the main conclusion. Okay, well, let's keep A in the running. A is really good. B, a natural disaster can destroy a whole season's production overnight, devastating a small country's economy. No, this is one of the examples of a risk that could have happened because of specialization and affect a small country. This is a premise from down here, but not our main conclusion, unfortunately. A small country's supply of raw materials can be used up in a short period. Same thing here. So another one of our premises of an example of a risk that could happen. So not the main conclusion. D, some countries rely on a small number of products for the export-based sectors of their economies. Same kind of thing here, where these are all kind of examples of how risks can come up or in a situation with countries that do rely on a small number of products, how they're more prone, but not the main conclusion. When international trade is free, countries can specialize in what they export. So this is the fact that introduces the topic that we're kind of heading to. But what we argue for in the rest of the argument, because this guy here is pretty much the first sentence, the rest of what the argument for is all about risk. And that's what we're arguing is a problem with this free international trade and specialization that comes from it. So A was our answer.